Hi Manan, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing good, Gaurav. How about you?
Very good, very good. So just want to tell the audience this one is very special for me. Me and Manan, we go about 30 years back or 25 years
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
And this was
All right.
when I met Manan in our university in New York. And, this brings back long back memories of playing table tennis, going into the cafeteria, having those juices, Manan. So
Yeah,
from
banana
there to this,
shakes.
how does it feel?
No, it's amazing, and in today's day and age to have a friend that you're in touch with since I would say almost childhood, and to be able to still connect and share our journeys with each other. And now we're fortunate that even our families bond and they get along like pack on fire
Yeah,
basically, and that's
absolutely.
a blessing. Yeah.
And I think we have a few things in common, which also is very relevant for this podcast that I run called Joy of Performing Manan. A, entrepreneurship. I think since we were 19 and we were in that dormitory, I still remember we used to read those graphs of your stock market and talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
business. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
started business at the age of 19, and so did
yeah,
you.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
think that is one thing in common. And another thing in common, which I'm sure will come around in this podcast, is wildlife. Yeah. Your love and your introduction to wildlife to me has made a huge impact, right? I think there's a lot that I learn in business and just that I bring back to business from the wildlife actually. So with that, Manan, and kid you not, nobody would believe, but Manan is one of the best people that I know from the financial markets. He's a beautiful mind and done extremely well for himself. So why don't I leave it to you, Manan? Why don't you do a quick introduction for the audience and we go from there?
So, hello everybody. My name is Manan Parekh, and I started my journey in the financial market since the time I was a child. That's what I can relate to as in all of my childhood because I've seen my father work as a stockbroker, and eventually it just became a way of life for me as well. And ever since I thought of doing something professionally, it was the stock markets that were the only thing that I could relate to as a form of earning my living through. And it's been a journey with lots of ups and downs, like most of us have had. But I'm very thankful for all the learnings that I have had through this journey. And today I'm an owner of a stockbroking firm and looking to expand and grow in different aspects of wealth management as well.
No, that's great. So, Manan, tell me something. You started stocks when it was not very fancy. Today, I think everybody is into the game, but you started it when it was not the fashion, if I say so, right? So, from the early 2000 to what it is today, what has been the journey like, and what are your learnings? Maybe three big pointers to take away from there.
Uh, so the number one learning that I can say that I've had is never go for the glory. The second learning that I would always say is that stick to a certain process and stand by the process, through thick and thin. And the third thing that I would say is, be ready to evolve, be ready to learn, and be adaptable. If you're not adaptable, it's difficult to survive in the financial markets, especially given the scenario that we see today, wherein at the blink of a tweet or at the start of an event, the entire circumstances of decision making and environment around you change overnight. And so you have to be able to adapt to those changes, and you have to be, I wouldn't say thick skinned, but you have to be able to bear the brunt of it as well at sometimes.
Sure. And do you think stock market or being in the financial market is a part science or an art? Like, is it something that people get lucky with, or there is actually a science that if you follow the process as you said, there is a big probability that you can make money out of this?
So first things first, I mean, when I would ask an investor to look at the stock market, or if anybody sitting outside from this industry is looking at the stock market, it's definitely an avenue for them to make an income. It's an avenue also for them where they can put in their savings. Given the way our entire setup in India stands today, it is one of the most transparent and most efficient and foolproof mechanisms of doing business compared to what we have in forms of other investment avenues. So that's how a person should look at it. And I think they should be willing to keep some patience. Patience is very vital, and it is important to have faith in your processes, as I said earlier as well.
Understood. And while patient is great, but when things are going down or when things are not in your favor, I think it's very easy to panic, right? And take steps which can hurt you in the long run. So, and you've seen many cycles like that. So, talk to us about real life examples of some of these cycles, and how did you get to the point of patience that you're talking about?
So I think having self-confidence is very important to survive in this industry. Uh, Ups and downs are a constant. That is, I would say, the only constant that you deal through as an entity when you're in the stockbroking business. And the ability to stand by and to know that you need to see this through, and once you see it through, there is light at the end of the tunnel, is the ability where your mind and the environment around you, the people around you, your family, your friends, all of those things make a big impact for you to be able to be successful at this.
Lovely. And is it something that you need to be consistent in when the markets are down, or you still need to be consistent in your investments, or there is a process for making those bets or for making those investments as well?
So there are two ways to look at this. If you're doing it in a systematic way, wherein you have decided that there is like a certain lump sum that you're going to put into the market every month, you should stick by it. You should not just look at it at a time when the market is doing well and then avoid doing it at a time when the market is not doing so well. Because actually, investing money when the market is not doing so well has a bigger advantage for you, because you get a larger chunk of the pie at a lesser price compared to when you're chasing it and when everything's on full steam and gung ho. And the ability also over here, I feel, is a lot of people sometimes make this as a primary way of income when they're not professional and when they're not qualified for this. And that is where the pitfall lies. I mean, the stock market is a great avenue to make money, but for somebody who's not a professional and who's not doing this on a full-time basis, they should not look at this as their bread and butter. They should look at this as a secondary or a third form of income for their building their savings rather than looking at it as a way of running their house through.
And what do you suggest? Do you suggest people who are maybe first time investors or just coming in the market to go the route of, let's say, mutual funds, or they themselves, today investment is easy, right? You download an app and you can start trading. So what are your suggestions there?
So my first thing is that once you decide that you want to invest into the stock market, you need to ideally start reading up a little bit about how the market functions. You should know the mechanism of the market. Also, I always say, invest in something that you understand. Invest in something that's easy for you to see that where the pitfall lies, rather than just going by what somebody is saying and having no correlation to the stock that you're investing in, or not having an idea of how variable the outcome of the product might be as well. And in today's day and age, it becomes extremely complex. You have so many options, and then
Yeah.
there's so many avenues to just know that, okay, they're saying to buy this, or this looks good. You have newspapers, you have these TV channels, you have social media. But to know what works right for you is the important thing as soon as you decide to become an investor.
And so, direct answer: mutual fund or equity? What do you suggest?
So I would say if you're starting off just fresh off the boat, mutual funds is a good way to begin. Get an
Got it.
idea of how it works, how it flows, and then maybe, specialize yourself and then start investing in equity directly.
Right. And industries. So, there have been always a trend where you tend to make money because some industries are the flavor of the decade or few years? Any industries that you are very positive on going forward from here?
Gaurav, actually, for me, that theme doesn't work anymore because I believe today, technology makes industries obsolete so quickly that earlier the concept of just buying and sitting on it, is no longer relevant in today's day and age. And especially in a time where we're looking at artificial intelligence and robotics growing at such a large scale, you need to be quick on your feet and you need to be able to adapt to the changing times. However, I feel one theme that will definitely work for us as a country and investors in India is consumption and healthcare, because
Hmm.
we're fortunate to be one of the few countries in the world that has a growing population and has an aging population. And this population that is coming into play is has built their savings, so
Right.
they're looking to improve their standard of living. They're looking to improve their quality of healthcare also that they want. So we should look at these avenues as a good investment bet going ahead.
No, absolutely. I think it's very interesting that you took these two names, right? The consumer goods and the healthcare. So, at Joy of Performing, just to kind of give some context here, we work a lot with consumer goods companies. I've seen a huge trend, a huge upward trend, and
Right.
we work with the companies so closely that we can actually validate that that is something which is here to stay, right? Absolutely. I think with insurances becoming cheap and now GST being removed from healthcare insurance, I think.
So I'll give you an example. Like people who are now in their mid 60s and 70s are probably the first generation that exercise the option of having healthcare and having health insurance. And they've been paying their premiums all through their life. And now when they need that facility, they are going to say that I want to avail of the very best that is available. Why should I compromise on the quality of healthcare when I've been paying my premiums all this while and I have the savings built up over here? And it's not just in the metros, it's in tier two, tier one, tier three cities across the country, where aspirations are there. But now there is income also to match those aspirations, and people are willing to spend.
Lovely. And talk to me about AI, right? You spoke about the disruption that it brings in, how how it makes industries like change every now and then. Are you excited about AI, or does that scare you? I mean, being in the markets, you study so many different industries, businesses all day long. What is your take on it?
So, Gaurav, my approach has always been to adapt to change. There is no point being scared about artificial intelligence being part of our common life. It's more important for us to understand how to utilize it in the right manner and how to make it an additional tool for us to evolve rather than thinking of it as competition. And yes, what this also does is it will take out those people who are not ready to evolve to this and don't accept it. But technology is something that we're going to have to live with for the rest of our lives, and it's part and parcel of it now.
So see, no, I agree, Manan, and I'm very close to technology. That is what I have done for the last 2 decades. But let me tell you something. Every disruption of technology, in my view, has taken us forward. Just we have consumed that technology and make ourselves more productive. And that is what you are exactly saying for AI as well. However, this is the first time that technology can actually replace human. There are things that a human can do or does do today, which may not even required in the next 5 years. From that perspective, what are your thoughts on this?
So, I'll take you to something that I always share with you when we're in the forest, and it's about survival of the fittest.
Sure.
And that's what AI is going to do. If you're not good enough, you're not going to be able to compete with AI. So rather than worrying about AI taking you out, it's time for us as professionals to up our skill levels and actually use AI as a co-partner in growing our businesses and growing our decision-making processes.
Got it. No, very well said, and I think it's back to basics from there, right?
Yeah.
So Manan, let us talk about the India story, right? I think we've heard a lot. It's in the news. everybody knows अच्छे दिन आ गए हैं या
Yeah,
आएंगे.
yeah, yeah.
But let's talk about India. How confident are you for the next decade or so for the India story, or do you think it's being oversold?
Uh, so, you can only pick from what's there to offer. And given what the rest of the world has to offer compared to what we can offer to the rest of the world, there is absolutely no other country that comes even close to the prospects that India has. And as we discussed earlier in the conversation, we're one of the few countries that has a growing population today. I mean, who thought that maybe, 10, 15 years down the line, uh, a growing population will be an asset?
Yeah, but
And
growing population, but with or without the disposable income, right?
yeah.
I think that is also a crucial matrix to think about.
So what we can see on ground and what the green shoots look like is right now the government is definitely focusing on creating opportunities for this growing population. It is not a government that is more dependent on goods and services being brought from countries outside. Rather,
Hmm.
they're becoming providers for the world. And why are we doing this? Because we know that we're going to have this manpower kicking in and we need to put them to good use. And we have the ability, thankfully, to service industries not just across Asia, but across the globe. And we have the technology also to do that now. And we have that mindset where people are open to learning new things, people want to evolve, people are willing to travel, people are willing to go abroad and work, not just study now, and bring businesses back to India. We are no longer a country that just services growth. We are a growth engine for the globe now.
Yeah, but somewhere, and this is my point of view on this, and I could be wrong. I think India has lost the race for AI. I think we are the biggest consumers of AI. Yes, even with numbers, you can see that we are doing that. However, are we the
Right.
producers of AI? I think that is where US and somewhat China are leaps and bounds ahead of us, and this is where I think is going to be one of our biggest drawback, if I say so, in the tech realm. What are your views on that?
So, I mean, when it comes to AI, Gaurav, I wouldn't necessarily worry about who is actually bringing in the product. I would rather focus more on who is able to more apply the product in a way where productivity increases, who has the skill set to use it better, who has the avenues where they can implement those products and increase productivity, increase economies of scale, increase efficiency. AI for me is more about, improving your way of living, improving your way of doing things, improving efficiency. So I'm more than happy for the West to build it for us, but as long as we're able to implement it and as long as we're open to implementing it and not averse to it, I don't think it would be much of a problem for us as a nation.
Understood. Understood. Now, do you think AI will have a disruption in the stockbroking business, the business that you are in, and
Yeah, yeah.
how are you thinking about that?
Yes, so definitely AI will act as a disruptor not only at the front end but also at the back end of operations, wherein a lot of things will become more and more automated. Surveillance will also become automated. Execution we're already seeing, wherein people have bots that execute trades for them. Also now these days you have ChatGPT, which does a lot of research for you. You just drag and drop a result PDF in it, and it'll analyze the entire booklet for you and give you a short summarized version of it, which ideally an analyst would do for you. So yeah, disruption is there on the cards, but we need to figure out how to make this more efficient for us in terms of getting it out to more customers, getting it out to a wider audience, which earlier maybe was difficult, especially given the demographics of a country like India, where probably an analyst sitting in Maharashtra would find it difficult to target an audience in Orissa. But with the help of AI, I could actually just have the entire research paper, the research document converted into a language which makes it more accessible to regional. states.
Got it. Now let's talk about markets. Whether it's the U.S. market or India market, everything gets triggered with events, right? Or
Correct.
some kind of news, whether it's negative
Correct.
or positive. Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
the markets have been doing well in India for the few years, and do you think it's a bubble which has been created, or it's actually the right frame? And where do you see the markets in, let's say, 5 years from now?
So I mean, I'm quite skeptical when the term bubble is used, you know. I mean, I fail to understand why is something called a bubble. Just because you go to a high and then you come back down, uh, I don't think that makes it a bubble. In fact, I look at it as an opportunity to grow exponentially. You know, you can make great money when times are really good and everybody is all gung ho. The important thing, but at that point of time, is to not get carried away with greed, is to know when to exit, and to know, you know, when it's time to take the money out of the system into your bank account, or vice versa, when to deploy those funds again and be part of the upcycle. And I don't think we're in a bubble yet, because if you see the penetration that we have as a country and exposure that people, population has to equities, it's very minimal. So at every down cycle, there is money waiting to enter the markets, and it's going to continue doing so for the foreseeable future, you know. And as and when we have a population that's getting more and more educated, they're always looking for avenues of savings and looking for avenues of wealth creation. So our market's just at the first leg of its growth cycle, I feel.
Yeah, that brings me to a very interesting point, Manan, and I agree what you were saying. I think there is absolutely a lot of potential, and people can make tons of wealth or money for themselves. But tell me something. How do you time the market? Like you made a point, right? That
Yeah,
you need to exit out and have the money in the bank while the going is good, and then re-enter the market when things are low. Now that is extremely
right.
hard for anyone
Yeah.
to time it, right? So how
Yeah,
do you do
yeah,
that?
it's impossible.
It is impossible, right?
It's not about being able to time. See, one can say they've timed the market well only in hindsight. At the time of actually exiting an investment idea, I don't think even the brightest people in the world know that they've got it right at that point of time, you know. It's only
Hmm.
in hindsight that you can say that I have timed it. This is where I think self-discipline, processes, and methods come into play, where you need to know that okay, now I had invested an X amount of money into the market, and it's given me a certain amount of return, which I think is very good for the duration of which I had invested the money. And I should not be greedy. I should be able to take that money. I should have the mindset to take that money out and to know that there will be another opportunity, you know. Unfortunately, sometimes people feel that there'll be no second chances or third chances, and they just want to keep going at it. And that's when, as you said, the bubble happens, and then it's too late for people to be able to absorb the downfall that comes with it.
Very well.
So, greed and fear are a very crucial matrix, you know, that make equity markets, not just equity markets, I would say even commodities, crypto, all of that. I mean, it's like a global phenomenon, but the ability to know that, okay, it's time to take money out is very important.
Yeah, I think that, and also FOMO, right? Fear of missing out is also
Yeah,
real,
yeah, yeah,
where
yeah,
you see that your friend, your relative has done tremendously well, and now
yeah,
you fear on missing out, and you start
yeah,
putting in, and
yeah.
maybe the market is already too heated up at that point of time.
Feel, you know, that's where a person has to be mature, must know themselves well enough to know, you know, that trying to replicate somebody else's success by just following their process is not something that's going to work for you. You're your own person. You have your own way of thinking. You have your own way of dealing with situations. So the way somebody else is able to make money in the stock market and deal with circumstances is not going to work for you. Today,
and
I might
and
try to
also, sorry, go on.
replicate. I might try to replicate the most successful investor, but their ability to absorb a downside might not be something that I'm able to do. And I might fail in that process just trying to follow somebody else.
I agree. I think I was just going to say that everybody's risk appetite is very different,
Very
right?
different. Yeah, yeah.
um, and you see the success, but you don't see the risk appetite and
Yeah,
how well
absolutely.
they can manage
Yeah.
that risk.
Yeah,
Nobody
how
knows
well
that,
they deal
right?
with that risk. Yeah,
Right.
nobody knows that. And nobody ever comes and tells you that, that I had so many weeks of sleepless nights, or I had such high stress levels that I had to deal with, or I had such anxiety when riding it through. Those things never
Right.
get discussed, but
Yeah.
it's that's where the individual comes in,
Yeah.
and their
You just see the
ability to
flashy
handle
cars, I
that.
think. You
Yeah.
don't see the sleepless nights behind it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. So let's change gears, Manan. Maybe last few minutes I want to spend about, the love of wildlife. How did that
Oh.
happen? And where do you see that going?
Uh, so wildlife to me is like I would say my home. It's where I reconnect. It's where I find myself again. It's also where I recharge myself to come back to the city life. And it gives me time, it gives me downtime to be able to analyze, to understand situations, to see things from a distance. And I would just say it helps me evolve, as a person. And it's something that I now feel is a part of me, and it's something that I can never distance myself from.
No, that's great, and I second that. I think
Yeah.
we all need that in the kind of livelihood that we have and the high stress levels that we go through.
Right. Right.
Is it so important to take maybe two steps back and really go in that nature and really connect with the
Yeah.
nature
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
come out, and your productivity is so much better. So thanks to you for introducing
Yeah.
me to
No,
wildlife.
no. It was something that I think I believe you were destined to be part of, and I have the greatest joy, when I tell people that he's one of the godfathers who was part of my very first journey into the wild, and we have had, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of more amazing times in the wild together.
Absolutely. And I'll tell my
Yeah.
audience, go book a safari. You will not get disappointed. But
Right.
hey, thank you, Manan. Thank you so much for your
Yep.
time today. This is really, really good. I'm sure the audience will get a lot of nuggets for them to think about for their investment and how they want to build their portfolio ahead. So thank you. Manan, if any of the people want to reach out to you, what is the best way?
The best way is to just shoot me an email on manan@aldeninvestments.com, and that's the easiest way to communicate. And if ever they just want an idea, or just to get an understanding of what the right mindset is to get into the markets, or to be able to understand the workings of it, I'll be more than happy to share them content that they can read up on or listen to and get an idea of how to go about being part of this wonderful world.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gaurav, and thanks for having me.